Hey guys, and welcome to the Steele Wars Hyperchat. It is Thursday, the 24th of September. And before we can even get things going, you guys, in the opening seconds, we get to throw it up. It has been 0 days without a technical accident on the live stream. So, glad with that, getting that out of the way nice and early. But a man that is no stranger to technical issues. Welcome back to the Steele Wars podcast in live stream form. Our buddy from the Star Wars Underworld, it's Dominic Jones. How you doing, Dominic?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being had. May I ask, can you hear the rubbish truck in the background?
Very much so, yes.
Okay. I'm going to close the window. So you tell the good people what's to you, okay. Dominic. What are the big news? What's the big news in Star Wars right now? What's going on?
Oh man, I mean, the big news is still, I think, even a week later, I still think it's the Mandalorian trailer. It's, kind of, I think, still dominating everybody's attention when it comes to Star Wars, because I mean, we're all excited for season 2. Season 2 is it's just over 5 weeks away at this point. So we've got a lot to look forward to there. So I still think that's the big story. But I also I would also throw in the Cassian news from the other day. Just the fact that they are actually going into production on that show, which is surprising for a number of reasons, not the least of which being the current state of the world, and also the fact that that show has almost nearly been canceled so many times, it seems, that when I saw the headline about Gilroy not directing, it sort of felt like, yep, here we go again. And then you read a little further and you realize, oh, okay, it's just a more or less reasonable thing that's causing him to step out of the show, at least in the directing capacity. But I think those are kind of the big things. Plus that behind the scenes of the Razor Crest video that they put out I think today or yesterday is pretty cool.
Let's I checked it out. ILM put up this. It's kind of like, I don't know, kind of low key, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit. It feels like it should have more attention should be paid to it, but it's really kind of buried. It's not on the main Star Wars account. There's not a ton of It's kind of buried on StarWars.com.
There's a few things. We'll talk about this in a little bit. There are a few things buried on the ILM YouTube page. And hey, Dom, let's go back to our OG adventure. Things that are ILM that are buried are no stranger to us.
Oh, no, they are not. I think it's slightly easier to find this documentary than those T-shirts.
Yes. Yeah, fully. Well, welcome to the Hyperchat, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, Dom. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, Twitter. We are available on delay in audio form exclusively on the Steele Wars Patreon. And if you're watching on Facebook or Periscope, Twitter, and you want to get involved in the live chat, most of that happens on YouTube. So you can click youtube.com/Steele Wars, and this thing's at the top, live streaming. I got to tell you, Dom, what an age. What an age. The fact that I can have technical mix-ups day in, day out at the click of a button is fantastic. Now, you're here because someone else isn't here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I did want to start on one of the days, because I'm doing this Monday to Friday. And one of the days I wanted to have like previous guests just to come on and talk about Star Wars news and stuff like that. So it's very surreptitious. Serendipity. We had some bizarre issues before this, so I'm a little bit thrown.
Mhm.
But we just go way back to probably the not the original kickoff of the Force Awakens, because I'd say that was Anaheim. What was that? 2015.
15, yeah.
But
I can't believe that's 5 years ago. Over 5 years ago now.
Yeah, we don't talk about that sort of stuff. Let's just say 2015, and 2015. It feels like it was 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
It does. In some ways, it does. Yeah.
Hey, I got to say, my T-shirt matches the graphics of the live stream.
Yeah, it's that same yellow. It's that same Star Wars shade of yellow.
Yeah. Well, what you don't know is I change it every day to match my T-shirt.
Oh, of course. So next time I come on, it'll be like lime green or something, right?
Yeah, ignite the lime green. Ignite,
of course.
On Skywalker Day. But I could actually change. Don't.
I'm just previewing next week's technical issues.
Yeah. I won't be deleting this bad boy any day soon.
Yeah.
Now, but yeah, we sort of became fast friends, sort of a trial by fire, in that we had to camp out together, and one of our favorite stories was our search around San Diego, we should say.
Yeah.
Looking for this free ILM T-shirt, which I've got back at home in Australia.
Yeah, I've still got mine too. I'm never getting rid of it. I don't think I could at this point.
Oh, well, it's like, I feel like Indiana Jones didn't go to this much trouble to get the Ark of the Covenant or something. It was quite a journey. And because I wanted to wear it. So I was like, it'd be really funny if I just wear it and not mention it. But not with me. Not with me. But I came to one of your live shows. I think it was the one in London, which would have been a year later. And I think I wore it to that. And I think you were a little bit thrown when I showed up in the shirt. You're like, oh, that's the shirt. Oh. Wow. That's my really bad impression of you. All the impressions of me are really bad. I feel like, just on the Cassian thing, I got to put this up because Catherine Neens, our number one Cassian fan, and she's in the live chat saying there's been a lot of negative vibes about the Cassian show, but I've always kept faith.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think this show has the potential to be like really good and really interesting and really different from everything else that's going on in Star Wars. Like the big things right now are very focused on the Western side of Star Wars. Mando, obviously, and of course the Kenobi show will probably lean into that as well. I mean, just guy in a desert kind of screams Western. But Cassian it sounds like it's supposed to be kind of different. It's supposed to be a spy thriller. And, as Star Wars sort of explores what it can be outside of the movie theaters, I think there's a really, there's so much more fertile ground than just the Western. I mean, keep doing Westerns, but also spread your wings a little bit. And I think the Cassian show has the potential to be the first one to really do that. And so, yeah, through all the ups and downs, I've been kind of like, come on, just get this one made. Show that Star Wars can be a little bit more.
Yeah, this is what I'm wondering, right? Because The Mandalorian, like I was sort of, I was excited about it, Star Wars TV show, but I wasn't frothing at the mouth about it.
Yeah.
Like I was nowhere near as excited as I am now for season 2. I was just like, oh, this is going to be cool. I was enjoying it as I was watching the first episode, but I was sort of just like, oh yeah, this is, this is good. This is good. It's a good movie.
Solid.
Good. Yeah. But what made it Star Wars, not just set in the Star Wars universe, the thing that was missing that I didn't know, and the thing that was missing in all the marketing and the panels and all that was the Force.
Yeah.
Because the Force is Star Wars. So I ask you this, Dominic Jones of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. How will they incorporate the Force in the Cassian series? Or do you think maybe they'll risk it? They'll risk not having this. I always go back to this metaphor about the Star Wars taco. All these different things that come together in the taco and you just crunch down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like a soft taco. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
we've got the caravan of courage for that. It's my soft taco.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, what do you think they'll do? Do you think they will find a new and interesting way to have like a Force user or the Force involved? Will Darth Vader be involved? What do you reckon?
I'm quite curious about this because you look at Rogue One and you look at Rebels and you look at anything that we've seen that recently, at least, that deals with the Rebel Alliance. And in that, there's always sort of talk of the Force. Sometimes we have actual Force users, but more often than not, it's just kind of talk of the Force. Even going back to A New Hope, right? Like when I think it's General Dodonna when he's explaining to them how to blow up the Death Star with that, that 70s CGI trip down the trench there. He says, "May the Force be with you," and so clearly the Rebel Alliance, something about the Force speaks to the Rebel Alliance. It means something to them, but they're not Jedi. They're not Sith. They're not Force users of any kind. And so I think it could be really interesting to see a Star Wars story that shows us characters for whom the Force really means something, but that they don't have access to it in the sort of the traditional Obi-Wan, Luke, Rey, Ahsoka kind of way. And we get a little bit of a taste of that in Rogue One with characters like Chirrut and Baze and even to an extent, I think later in the movie, Jyn Erso and Bodhi Rook and Cassian as well. I think they all kind of by the end of the movie, even if they're not necessarily true believers, they kind of believe. And so I think there's some fertile ground to play with there of, for other characters in the Rebel Alliance, maybe Cassian's a skeptic and there can be other characters that voice this sort of opinion that is kind of like, it's important to me, even though I don't know how to lift rocks. It makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger, because that's what the Force really at the end of the day is. It binds us, surrounds us, penetrates us, it holds the universe together.
Hey, we've seen the film,
so
buddy. Just chill out.
You could play with it a little bit in there, even without introducing a baby Yoda or character like that to actually come in there and start
or a
Yoju,
if you will. Thing. Or a Yoju, if you will. Have I lost you there, Dom? Dom, can you not hear me?
I didn't hear you there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, great. I wonder if everyone else could hear me. That's interesting.
That's the question.
Yeah. In the chat, could you hear me? Because I want to know if I get to blame someone else, especially someone as like good-natured as Dom, that will just like accept it with Steele.
Yeah.
It's an idiot.
Well, I would just take the blame. I would just say, yeah, no, it was probably my fault. That's the very Canadian thing to do. Would just be like, yeah, no, sorry.
Now, Braxton, he's adamant, no Force. But what do you think, Dom, about Darth Vader getting involved?
Wait.
Hold up. Catherine Nee always comes through. We heard you. We heard you.
Sorry.
So, Thurbo confirming, and Braxton sadly making the call. And
now I want to know.
That's 0 days.
Now I want to know what you said.
Look. Yeah, hi. Can you see me through here?
Yeah.
My son would love this.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Lenny's my favorite character, by the way.
He's pretty funny. He is pretty funny.
He's the everyman.
Mm-hmm.
He's the everyman.
Yeah.
I love the everyman. All right, Braxton. Thank you so much for chiming in. Dom, it's all your fault, buddy.
Sorry.
It's all your fault.
Sorry. I'll make up for it with some maple syrup and Canadian bacon.
Love it. I went to Vancouver, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble finding a place in the city of Vancouver because there's like the Canadian breakfast or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
It's like bacon, eggs, and pancakes. So if you're in anywhere apart from Canada, they'll have this Canadian breakfast.
Yeah.
It's big in Australia. I love it. I tried to find that combo of things in Vancouver in a cafe because I'm like, I got to have a Canadian breakfast. I'm in Canada, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And no bias. So I now know that the Canadian breakfast is a racial stereotype.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Usually you just, you order the pancakes, then you order the bacon, then you order the eggs.
I should have rang you.
Yeah.
I need you to order. I don't need you to dress me because look at this.
Yeah, of course. It's the peak of fashion.
Wow. Hey, let's. Oh yeah. So, what did you think about Vader? What do you think about Vader in Cassian?
Yeah, use sparingly. I think. I don't think they should overdo it. I think just in general with Vader, they should avoid overdoing it with him, and they should keep keep him for really big, important, special moments. And the end of Rogue One is kind of an example of that. I don't think they have to hide him because he is, one of the faces of the franchise, but I wouldn't want him to be out there hunting down Cassian every week. When he shows up, it should really mean something. And I think that's something that, was an issue that the Rebels struggled with at times, was that they brought in Vader. And when they brought him in, it made a lot of sense to bring him in. But once you've opened up that box, it's really hard to kind of put him away again. And I think, they kind of struggled with that. And so I don't want Cassian to run into that same issue. So on the one hand, I want to see more Vader because, like I said, he is the icon of Star Wars in a lot of ways, or at least he was for a very long time. So yeah, bring it out. But at the same time, really make sure you have a story that's worth it. Because if you start devaluing Vader stories, then you start to devalue the character, and then you start to run into issues where you want people to be excited for Vader stories, and if you'd never want to run into a situation where people are bored of Darth Vader.
I thought you were going to say if you start devaluing Vader stories, you're devaluing yourself. So that's where I'm at.
That's a little bit more poetic than what I said.
It's sadder, I feel like. Hey, let's go. We'll just catch a little bit of this inside ILM creating the Razor Crest little vid over here. And we'll check that out. That should pop up. What an age. What an age. Here we go.
That are about this size and put these things together into the ship.
John would come and pick up parts literally.
I like this story.
The printer, and he'd take them away. And then people would come in, John Knoll and others that were excited to see this stuff. And I'd say, hey, there were just 15 parts here, I swear, but now they're gone. Goodson's got them, and he's working on them. At a certain point, I walked into the shop, and he had all of those parts, and he was finishing them, and he had a mold that he was doing of the fuselage, and it kind of became real to me that it's actually coming together.
So I like that they came in and got them straight away. They weren't letting those pizzas cool down.
No, they're like, we need them now. Let's go. My favorite part of the documentary was how they kind of talked about, like when they showed it was when they talked about Celebration. Because when they showed us that at Celebration, I thought, oh, that's really cool. They had this done, and they thought, hey, who would really appreciate it? Oh, the Celebration audience would. But I love the fact in the documentary they revealed that no, they thought of that sort of beforehand and then kind of had to rush to finish it. It was sort of like, oh, okay, that's where they were almost putting the cart ahead of the horse there when they're like, no, we want to have this for Celebration. The team there is like, but we're not done yet. We need more time.
But I sort of like that insight that it's like, hey, let's get this done for Celebration.
Sure. Yeah. No, it made perfect sense to show it there, but it kind of, I was surprised at which, in what order that decision was made.
But I like how we go to Celebration and you always have your booth there, and I'll do like a live podcast and stuff. And then there's a lot of things to organize. Right.
Oh,
and if you've got it all done on time, you disgust me. That's no way to live. Right.
Yep. Now,
I like that at the Disney Corporation in ILM, they've got the same issue where it's like, oh, gotta just at the last minute, they're burning their little disc to run off. I presume they still burn everything on discs in like tribute to R2-D2, yeah, surely?
Yeah, they put them all onto data tapes and rush them over there.
Yes, that's what they should do. That's what a real fan would do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, what I found, I was watching it live on the TV on YouTube as I sort of worked along, and it's like just to find, it's just what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's not like groundbreaking, and it's just fun, good to see their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Then this ILM YouTube thing takes us to this discussion that I'd never known of, and it's ILM presents Empire at 40. Now, have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen this.
Oh my stars. I'll get this up right here. So for those just listening on the podcast, this is a special live stream conversation with effects legends Dennis Muren, Joe Johnson, Phil Tippett, and Lorne Peterson in celebration of the 40th anniversary of Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. ILM's VFX supervisor, Bill George. Never trust someone with two first names, I tell you. Will moderate the discussion. Now, this was posted May 28th. So I'm going to guess that's the day The Empire Strikes Back came out.
It's a couple days later, I think.
Oh, well, they're ahead of schedule. That's why it's disgusting to me. But
no, they're behind. They're behind schedule. The movie came out a couple days earlier, I think.
Oh, I approve of this message then. That's fantastic. But they tell some really cool stories. So I just saw, and I love Joe Johnson. Were you at Comic-Con the year that Joe Johnson released his his what are they called? Like the concept pictures book, whatever that was.
No, I wasn't there that year.
Like of the shot. What are those things called? Like an animatic, but not an animatic.
So storyboards?
Yes. Bang.
Bang.
All right, let's check out a bit of this. This is really cool. Love Joe Johnson, by the way.
There's a lot of others, but those are the ones that have always stood out to me as being ones that could have gone south very quickly.
Well, to start, I want to say that the asteroid sequence, the asteroid field, as it's called on the CD, is my favorite piece of music in any of the three films. It's fantastic, and it fits that sequence so perfectly. But asteroid sequence, I just remember me and Mike Pangrazio on the floor, spattering acetone on giant pieces of foam, to pit them and everything, and then painting them brown. I mean, it was, I love this. I had a headache for days after that.
I had a headache for days, man. Wasn't the same, man.
I don't know. I'll let you guys weigh in. I was just blown away by the music.
Well, the scene was so dynamic, the way it was designed. And then Ken Ralston was primarily responsible for doing a lot of the programming of all the ships and the rocks and everything. And he was just the perfect choice. Look because
at the background behind him.
It's crazy.
He comes from an animation background. And so everything is moving kinetically with animator's sense of pace and timing, and that really helped the scene.
And you guys built a smaller Falcon that was more maneuverable too, right?
This
like about a
solved a giant mystery for me. It's coming up.
Yeah, we built a
big 3-foot
Falcon for
this guy.
3-foot one, and then we built a 2-foot one. I mean, the original one weighed a ton. And, it would take a couple of people, 4 people to lift it. So if we'd use that.
It's got like a Max Rebo in its background.
Shots would have been shot very, very slowly so it wouldn't wobble on the stand. So they made a light aluminum one at 2 feet.
Get to it!
Right. That just made it much more flexible and all. And it does maneuvers in the film that are sort of inconsistent with the Falcon. You never see the actors spinning around or anything like that.
Get to the story.
But when they got into the show, and especially into that sequence, it just seemed like something to get away from the straight flying would help. And if he could do a flip to get over here, and George said, "Sure, fine, go ahead." and it really helped the sequence and everything with the ship. Occasionally, have it do maneuvers that are more fun and more interesting to do. But I remember when we started the asteroid sequence, though, you couldn't tell what you were looking at. The original idea was asteroids are coming from every direction and the ship's flying through and evading them. You couldn't tell what the heck you were looking at. As soon as your eye was on the ship, another big asteroid came in over here, and then the one that was supposed to hit the ship came this way, and you weren't looking there, and you couldn't figure out why the maneuver was going on. So
the way he moves his hands, I know exactly what scene he's talking about.
Redesigned those shots so that and the storyboard form, as I remember at least, so there was a single direction.
When's he going to tell this factoid?
Not all the time. For the asteroids,
this better be the best story of all time, the best anecdote we've ever heard.
Look to see why the Falcon why it's in danger, what almost happened, and how it evaded and that was something we weren't expecting, and really helped the sequence. But maybe you don't remember that. But anyway.
Well, I remember that it would have been nice to be able to do an animatic of it.
Okay, I think this is the bit. Now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right.
But that was sort of pre-animatic days for us. That came with Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
When Ken was shooting a lot of the
damn it,
the asteroids. I mean, there were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
All right, I see if I can.
We didn't plan it that way. We just really lucked out.
Joe, you were mentioning earlier.
I think I just skipped the story. That is so good.
And see if they could get away with this.
Because I always wondered, right? Because I went to the Smithsonian many years ago, my first trip to America, and they had that Magic of Myth exhibition. And it was like a 2-story at the Smithsonian, like all the original trilogy props. There was Ewoks. There was the 6-foot Falcon, and you could go up these stairs and look down on it and stuff. And one thing I've always wondered with the different sized Falcons is how they made them, because they're all made from other models.
Right.
How did they make it look the same in the different sizes? Don't you think that's weird?
Yeah, I'd never thought of it, but yeah, that is a good point.
All right. Well, I've wondered about this for, 30 years. You've just thought about it for the first time. Let's solve it right now.
So
okay, good.
Things that are floating around out there someplace in deep space.
Yeah. The model shop lucked out on that with the Millennium Falcon. And
here we go.
The model kits that we used to bash came in both 24 scale and 12 scale. So when we made the smaller Falcon, all of a sudden we had the same parts we could use. We didn't plan it that way. We just really lucked out.
Joe, you were.
Yes.
Wow.
Mystery revealed. Was it worth the wait?
Totally. And I assumed that that for the ones at Galaxy's Edge, they had, 72-foot scale models that they were able to bash together to build those monstrous.
No, they were actual cars.
Oh yeah. They just
found the cars and the planes that the model was built on, or battleships, and there's bits of all that stuff. But I do remember when I went, and I think this was like 99, maybe. It was pre-Phantom Menace. Oh, no, so it would have been earlier. 98, let's say. I do know it was when that cardboard Jabba's Palace came out. That came with the Han Solo, because you couldn't get it in Australia, but I found one in the Toys R Us in Florida, and I was like, this is the best day ever.
Yeah, like, this is coming back with me.
Small town sand suites in the house.
All right.
And on the back of the Falcon, you could see the spark plug stickers. So they actually used, when you get a race car, you get the little logos for the branding. They'd actually put them on the back of the Falcon and stuff, just as a little Easter egg. And you could see it. And you could see the Made in England on the probe, on the torture droid syringe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you could see all sort of little worldly things that you'd never pick up in there. But so that's ILM Presents Empire at 40. It's a rollicking good chat.
Yeah. It sounded great.
Yeah. And it's just not getting much play. This is the sort of stuff that I thought they should have packaged into a weekend of live streaming, or not live streaming, but premiere streaming for fans over Celebration. Like, this is like, you know, just something to gather around would have been cool.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising to me that weekend really came and went without. I guess there was that sort of extra long episode of the Star Wars show with a couple of highlights from previous celebrations, which was cool. It was fun. I really enjoyed it, but it was a little bit surprising to me how that weekend just kind of came and went with barely a mention of where we should have been had the world not gone to Crazy Town this year.
Yeah, and like they could have, like, they put up that the Star Wars show, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, why not? You know, we've seen all the panels from 2015 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Why not throw up like a Rick McCallum panel? Like, why not?
Yeah.
No, but why not do a virtual celebration of classic? Like, you filmed them all.
Yeah.
And even if it's just like one camera or whatever,
mm-hmm.
you know, like, I don't know if they don't do this stuff because it's like they've got to meet some sort of, you know, like production standard, but like not everyone can have all these little bars and matching t-shirts. So don't sweat it. Online Star Wars team, StarWars.com. Don't let me set the standard. Do your thing with your budget.
Yeah. That I genuinely, that would have been so great just to rerun the old panels. And you know, like a couple of those panels that they showed highlights of, I was at. I remember they had multiple angles because they had big screens on the walls. Like the George Lucas, Jon Stewart panel was like a seminal moment for me in Star Wars fandom. And so I remember that very vividly. And I remember they had, you know, big giant screens on the wall, and they would have close-ups of George. They would have close-ups of John. They would have angles on the crowd. You know, there's so much, they did so much production for all of that stuff. You know, it seems like such a waste to just sort of leave it in the vault and not bring it out and show people, you know, on a weekend where, you know, obviously we can't get together because it's not safe. So let's relive some classic moments. And here are some moments that you may have missed if you're just getting into Star Wars, or you've just gotten into Star Wars in the last few years. Here's some classic moments.
Or you live in Australia and you didn't get to go see
George or you
Lucas
couldn't
hang out with Jon Stewart.
Yeah, or you didn't get to go. And I mean, yeah, the you know, those conventions had 50, 60,000 people there. You know, that's less than what, I don't know what percentage of the world population that is, but that's such a small percentage. There's so many more people that haven't seen them and have only seen kind of crappy YouTube versions that are just sort of out there that people filmed in the crowd. You know, the way I used to be able to relive that George Lucas, Jon Stewart panel was I had a 45-second clip that I filmed on like a digital camera from my seat, and like it was a nothing story. Like it wasn't even one. Yeah, it wasn't even one of the great stories of the panel. Like it wasn't it wasn't when Mark Hamill came out or when
Mark Hamill came out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Him and Carrie Fisher. They closed down the panel.
Now I was throwing out these suggestions with good cheer. Now I'm furious.
Yeah,
they had Lucas, Carrie, Hamill, and Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And you with a camera.
Yeah, and I didn't film that part. I have this like nothing story of George just like meandering on about the making of the original trilogy or something.
Heard it.
Yeah, exactly. But that panel was incredible. Like it was, you know, Jon Stewart was so funny. Like you remember Colbert hosting the episode 9 panel. It was sort of like that. I thought Stewart did such a good job of you know, positioning himself as like one of the fans who was there to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. And then he had such good questions for George. He was up on his knowledge. So, you know, at one point George started talking about Darth Plagueis, and Stewart just jumps in there with a question where he's like, oh, so Plagueis was Palpatine's master. And George was just like, yep, he did. He just confirmed it right there on the spot. And it was all like that. And they showed a couple of clips from Clone Wars season 3 because that was sort of what George was working on at the time.
Oh,
yeah.
Tamsin, get him in here.
It was that was where they debuted Savage Opress.
Dun Tamsin. Sorry.
Yeah, this is where they debuted Savage Opress and stuff, and they showed some clips from season 3, and then Lucas says, "Oh,
can I ask a question?"
Mm-hmm.
Warning: it's very cynical.
Okay.
Was that when they announced the name Savage Opress?
Yes, because it was in the clip. And
what was the buzz in the room over such a trademarked character name?
Well, I think the sort of ridiculousness of the name got sort of missed because everybody was so excited. One, that George was there. Two, that we were seeing a new clip from Clone Wars. And three, because George just casually mentioned that he was Darth Maul's brother. And that was supposed to be a secret.
George Lucas is Darth Maul's brother?
Yes, George is Darth Maul's brother. Big surprise. It was a big reveal. But no, that Savage was Darth Maul's brother was supposed to be like a secret that they were keeping. And the next day, or actually later in the day at the Clone Wars preview panel, Filoni was like, yeah, you might have heard George said some crazy things about this character. We're not going to repeat them, but here's the clip again. So, they did that. So it was kind of, people were kind of going, wait, Darth Maul has a brother? It was sort of
that would have been so frustrating because you couldn't just go onto Twitter and find out what that was.
Yeah. I guess Twitter wasn't really a thing at that point, or it might have been. I'm not sure. Certainly not what it is now. Yeah,
not to that regard where you could just trust.
Yeah,
you could just like click the hashtag and
be like, oh, so that's what they said. Yeah, you were really relying on the fan sites and stuff, I think, at the time.
Sorry, go.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I was just gonna continue recapping a panel from 20 years ago if you want it.
Love it.
Okay. So they showed those Clone Wars clips. At one point, R2 came out on stage, and George presented John with an action figure of himself as a stormtrooper. And then at the end of the panel, John says to George, he says, can you tell these people something about the future, something about, the future of the show? And people from the crowd start going, the live action series. And George goes, no, we're not going to talk about that yet. We're not talking about that yet. And that's when they announced.
Your George Lucas is far better than your Steele Saunders, I got to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Because I was the Steele Saunders is a pretty bad impression, I got to say, even for me. But George said, we're going to announce the Blu-ray. And again, he did it so nonchalantly. And then he says, but the big thing that I'm putting on this one that we've never put on any of the other home media releases is the deleted scenes. And that's when they showed for the first time. This was the real thing that people came away from talking about from the panel. That's how you English, they showed that clip of Luke building his lightsaber, that deleted scene from Return of the Jedi. They showed that and people went absolutely insane.
I bet.
Yeah. And then Stuart said, oh, you know who we should bring out? The guy from that clip. And Mark Hamill came out, and Mark comes out and people are going crazy for Mark. And Mark goes, shh, quiet down. You're cutting into George time. It was like, again, Mark Hamill being the ultimate fan. He's like, I know if I were here, if I were in your shoes, I'd want to, get every second of George time I could get. So I'm going to, move things along. And then after that, just for fun, they brought out Carrie Fisher to kind of close down the panel, and she was herself. She was hilarious and classic and iconic in every moment. So it really was like that. I didn't think that panel could ever be topped, and the only one that's ever come close for me is the Force Awakens panel at Celebration.
What about the 40th?
40th was good. 40th was amazing. Like number three with a bullet. But for me, just sentimentally, that Lucas Stewart main event at Celebration 5 was just like, it was my first Celebration. It was so cool, just the fact to be in that room with George and John as well, to be perfectly honest, to see both of them together. And the interview. The 40th anniversary panel, I loved it, but it was so much of like a retrospective greatest hits. Here's all your favorite stories.
Yeah, that's stuff I like.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Celebration 5, the Celebration 2010 panel was like, oh no, we're gonna have like here are some of the questions you wish you could ask George Lucas.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty good.
So it was a really in-depth conversation. And so I put that out. I should have put that whole panel out on the Star Wars YouTube for Celebration weekend.
It would have been so cool if they'd printed, they had a little, like a schedule of when they're going to be live, and you could, pick what you wanted, like even to have like 2 streams, like, and you could pick, I'm going to do this one, like, and then fans could sort of do content around that stuff. And like, anyway, hey, what I want to get from you is we haven't talked for a little while, and this film series wrapped up.
Yeah.
So and we sort of began our friendship at the start of The Force Awakens. We did the camp out as we talked about. So I'd like to know sort of where you're at, how you finished up, but to give you a little second about doing that, I've got a fun little thing that I came up with, or I came across. I didn't come up with it, you guys. Just chill out. And that's Star Wars, but it's Mission Impossible by youtube.com like onions. So I'll just give us a little bit of so Dom can get his thoughts together for this pressing question. Share audio. Let's get in there. Where's our little screen? There we go. We zap in. So this is a fun little 50-second Star Wars, but it's Mission Impossible. Are you a Mission Impossible person?
I've seen, I think, all the movies, and I enjoy them the one time that I watch them. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a one watch myself. I've probably seen the first one many times. But Tom Cruise, he's just off his rocker. You can't not watch him hanging onto the side of a plane, going into. He's
insane in more ways than one.
He's such a movie star. Like he's just like movie star. Like he's just. That's what it's about. He's like a Simpsons parody. Like Tom Cruise should be a parody character in The Simpsons, like Dredrick Tatum's, like, that's what Tom Cruise, he should be ripping off like Tony Crass, who's a big actor in Hollywood, apparently. I don't know, but let's enjoy this. Love the Cushing intro. I was not ready for that at the end.
If George ever comes back to Celebration, he needs to just do that as he arrives.
I want to keep. We won't mention what happened. If someone's listening on the podcast, on the Patreon podcast, it's 1 minute. Star Wars: The Mandalorian. No, what is it? Star Wars. I've gone to the next thing. Star Wars, but it's Mission Impossible, and the account is like onions. Go check that out. But that kicker at the end was terrific. But
beautiful.
So for those that didn't see it, it's sort of like the opening credits to Mission Impossible with all the faces, and it's sort of a lot like the which is a parody or an homage to the Mission Impossible TV show opening. And when you watch that in the guise of it's the Star Wars TV show on every week, and it's introducing all the actors and scenes from their adventures, I could just picture myself like, 12 years old, just as the credits go, just like, yes, new episode of Star Wars this week. This is way better than the 18. Come on.
That's sort of what I do every week when there's a new Mandalorian or a new Clone Wars episode. I'm just like, let's go. It's time.
So good. So good. Give a shout out in the chat. Max Palace hanging out with Dom and Steele at San Diego Comic-Con and Celebration Orlando was crazy fun. Now,
it was.
It's he's going to bring, it's his fault I'm bringing this up. But after we did this live podcast one night and things got very fun. I was having a lot of fun. I was heavily involved in fun at the time. And I was not thirsty. Let me tell you that much.
Mm-mm.
We got a lift, and Max, I don't know if it was his car or he hired it or what, but he had this like, oh, Max, he had this giant van, like that carried like 12 people. It was so large. If that's your car, Max, that's quite a shuttle you've got there. And Max is at the front talking, and I'm so drunk. I'm in the back, right at the back. Oh, Max said he's just paid it off. Good investment. And I think I say like, God, this Uber driver's chatty, isn't he? And I didn't realize we were in Max's car.
Yeah. Max has been there for times when both of us have been having a lot of fun without being very thirsty. I remember the first night of Comic-Con that year, Max texted me for directions to where we were because he was coming a little bit later, and the directions, I now realize, should have basically been, we're right across the street.
Oh.
But I gave him the most like obscene directions that he called me and was like, what are you talking about? And then he arrived and was like, I went all over the place looking for this, and it was across the street. I was like, I am so sorry. Let me again apologize, Max. That was very poor directions.
True Canadian, apologizing years later.
Yeah.
I think what you did was you looked it up on your phone app, and it
Mhm.
gave you the car directions. And because San Diego's got all those one-way streets,
right? Yeah.
It gave you like a big arc around. Do you know what
I thought you were gonna say I looked it up on my phone and it gave me the directions to the place from Canada. And so I was trying to describe to him, oh yeah, you cross the border, and then you go through, Idaho, or I don't know.
I got to give a shout out to Tracy Moon in the chat. Max has never recovered from the poor Uber ratings that you gave him. I was happy with the drive, and I'm still raving about the vehicle. 5 stars for the vehicle, but I just thought he was getting into the conversation a bit much. And yes, he did drop me off right at my hotel, so yeah. I appreciate that.
How much of a tip did you give him?
I've given Max a few very choice tips throughout the years. And we'll leave it there. Speaking of tips and Max Palace, he was very instrumental in teaching me how all like this thing works. So I thank him for that very much. All right, Dom, and you know it's fun that Max is here because he's someone that we've seen through all these events, and for me personally, how the trilogy ended up was a downer. Ray Palpatine and it just the whole thing. We've go over that ad nauseum, but of course I like the other films and stuff, but all the adventures, the Star Wars nerd adventures, like me and you, Dom, we've been across the globe.
We have.
We've been San Diego, Orlando, Chicago, London. The ghettos of London we were in, eating that fried chicken. But I tell you, what do you think? I dug in to the archives to find a photo. We've done all these, we've been at all these big panels and seen all this stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most monumental event? Not the excluding the ILM breakfast t-shirt.
Man, the most monumental event, like with that we were both at, involving the two of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm thinking I've got like sort of a toss up. Either the Comic-Con concert. That happened like the next day after the t-shirt adventure, or whenever this memory comes to me, I always find myself chuckling. It was getting from the convention center to your Airbnb, to the concert, back to your Airbnb, back to the convention center, in London before the Rogue One panel. and for some reason that trip is just so funny to me, because like we went to your Airbnb on the wrong side of the tracks, where there was like people doing illegal stuff right across the street.
It was like in The Simpsons when there's the wrong side of the tracks. There was literally tracks, and the convention center was on one side, and then my Airbnb was just over the tracks.
Yeah.
And it was instantly
whole different city.
I'm not sure what he was selling, but it wasn't legal. Were you with me when we got back to my house, my little Airbnb room? And in that house, they were constantly boiling fish. Constantly. Yeah. And I got home. I'm not sure if I was with someone or not, but these drug dealers that hung out the front, one of them was urinating on the fence of the house I had to go in.
I'm pretty sure I was there for that, because I remember the guy relieving himself, and it was sort of like, "Where are you staying?" But I also remember that we decided.
And I always had this thought that if like I got home and I just wanted to get a real high, I just go out there and like lick the urine, because there'd be something good in there.
Sure. Yeah.
Come on, Costner style. It's fine for Costner.
Yeah, it works for him. But I also remember we decided we wanted chairs and so we just went into those people's backyard and took their chairs and carried them.
We were in the overnight line.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, let's get chairs. And I'm like, I know where we can get chairs. Do you mind if they smell like boiled fish?
Yeah. And so we went to your Airbnb and we went into those people's backyard. We took, I think, 3 or 4 chairs, like just plastic chairs with us.
And we were living like kings in the line after that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was great. We dragged them, a block and a half to the convention center and just set them up in line. And we were laughing all night long.
And we did take them back.
Yes, we did. We returned them that morning.
And put them in the same position. I always wondered if they knew. I always wondered.
Yeah, because it was pretty late when we took the chairs. Like, it was certainly after midnight, I think.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't be feeding any mogwai when we were doing it. None at all. None at all. No. Well, they are all good, but wrong again, Dom. I feel like the most monumental thing, or the thing I could find a photo of, was the Forces of Destiny fruit bar. Who could forget?
What?
At Star Wars, no, this was at San Diego Comic-Con maybe 2 years ago.
And that looks like about Solo era me, I think.
The Forces of Destiny fruit bar.
That might be one of the more ridiculous pictures I've ever taken. That look on my face is I look like I don't even know what I look like I'm doing in that picture.
I know what I'm doing. I'm going, hey, let's get a photo of this ridiculous sign, because we can put it on the internet in a couple years. And absolutely. Here we are. Here we are.
We did it. We made
it. Now, Dom, hit us. Post-sequel trilogy thoughts.
Man. So let me say this. I think I agree with you on most things about episode 9. I rank it as, my least favorite of all the films. Just because I didn't care for a lot of the choices that they make. I didn't like Rey Palpatine. I thought that was a poor, short-sighted decision that undermined everything they were doing. That was just sort of based out of the fact that that's what JJ and Terrio decided that they thought Star Wars is and has to be. I didn't like that they sidelined Rose. That was a big deal. I kind of felt they didn't do enough with Luke, and I was looking for more connections back to the prequel era. Not in like, I needed every character to show up. Just I felt like Anakin needed to have a little bit of a bigger role in this sort of finale, more so than he did. So I came out of episode 9, pretty disappointed in the film itself. I haven't watched it since it was in theaters, which I kind of can't believe I haven't done that. But
I'll jump in with that.
For sure.
So I did this thing where I scored each little menu chapter.
Oh, I heard it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And watching just specific scenes without the other scenes, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like the whole, the film obviously didn't work out the way I wanted, or just I didn't feel like it agreed with the other two films more than what I wanted. I felt like it disagreed with the films. But then when I watch, like when the three all hug at the end, I'm like,
yeah,
like I like a lot of the emotional moments still, ring true.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I think JJ is really good at. Is I think he's really good at crafting little moments. I don't know if he has quite the eye for an overarching story that was needed for that movie, but he certainly was able to create little moments. And I got to see that movie. Here's my humble brag, at the world premiere. And so in that sort of excitement of seeing it a couple of days before everybody else, and just, the fact that you're seeing a new Star Wars movie for the first time, I came out of it kind of going like, okay, yeah, I like this part and I like this part and I like this part. And yeah, I didn't like these three things, but maybe when I see it again, those three things will make more sense. And upon, it doesn't hold up for me on repeat viewings as much as I would like it to. Because the things that I liked get lost in the things that I didn't like, which is unfortunate. I don't want to feel that way about a Star Wars movie for sure. I'd rather enjoy it, or at least be able to, agree with part of it. And so I came away from that film rather disappointed. Ultimately, though, I can be kind of defensive of the sequel era in general, because I had such a good time with it. This was for me, this was the first time I got to experience a Star Wars trilogy from the beginning to the end, like from the moment it was announced. I remember October 30th, 2012, very, very vividly, that whole day of finding out we were getting new Star Wars movies. And then all of those steps along the way, including all the celebrations and the Comic-Cons and the crazy wacky adventures and the new friends from all over the world and all that stuff. And so I'm very precious about those memories, even the ones associated with episode 9, that like, I can't get like really angry about the sequel trilogy, and I find myself defending it more often than not, which is interesting when 1/3 of it is really not what I was looking for. And so I have this real sort of emotional tie to those movies because of what they meant for me personally, and they represented a really, really fun and really exciting portion of my life. I see what Max has posted in the comments here, and it's on the screen, and it's a meme, it's a cliche, but it's absolutely true. The friends we made along the way, lots of memories. And that's sort of how I feel about the sequels, is that, yeah, okay, the films, I like 2 out of 3 of them a lot. One out of 3 has some really great moments, but it's got all these other things that are really frustrating. But overall, like I wouldn't trade the experience of those films and seeing those films and everything that went on. Some of it which involved traveling all over the world, other of it just involved sitting right here where I am now. I wouldn't trade any of it for anything, because it was just so much fun. They were truly the best times. And I'm again, I'm falling into cliches, but sometimes cliches are true.
And like, where you at now as like a Star Wars content creator, podcaster? Where's the Star Wars Underworld at? What are you sort of? We've got this lull in films, but we've got shows about to kick off in a month and a half or so, and then what do you got planned moving forward, buddy?
I'm really looking forward to the end of next month when Mando comes out, and to start doing the weekly discussions of that again on a Radio Razor Crest. I'll just you're not the only one who dressed for the occasion.
That's it. I'm going just to me now. That's
yeah.
Merchostore.com, you guys.
There you go. I'm really looking forward to doing that again, and and doing that for all the shows as we go forward with Cassian and Bad Batch and Kenobi and future seasons of Mando. We're still doing, even though the Clone Wars is over and Clone Wars season 7 was sort of the perfect, I think, kind of thing to follow up episode 9 with, because it got me really energized about Star Wars again. Even though Clone Wars is over, we're still doing the Clone Wars Strikes Back, which I do with my friend Kieran. Again, another just great friend who I met through the sequel era.
He's my friend too.
He is your friend too. Yeah, he was there when we stole the chairs as well. So
yeah, he was part of the.
He was an accomplice.
Yes, yes.
He was with us. So to continue doing that. So I keep hearing about this lull in Star Wars content, and it's true. Yeah, there's going to be less movies for a little while, but I look at the future and I see nothing but brightness, and I'm excited about everything that's coming up, and I'm looking forward to, dissecting it the way we have and finding new ways to really get into it and make sure that it's as much fun in the future as it has been thus far.
Because you like Star Wars because it's nothing but good times. Is that the quote?
Yeah, it's almost it. It's all around good times.
All round good times. Damn
all around good times. Yeah.
Oh, I know that mall packaging is nostalgic to Christopher, but I messed up your line. I messed up your line. It's quite funny when we met at Comic-Con, and I didn't know any podcasters or anything. But I listened to your podcast all the time. That's how I met Chris the year before. And someone sort of quoted to him that mall packaging is nostalgic to me or whatever. And I was like, it's like an inside podcast joke. That's in real life. That's just mind blown. And now I've got way too many of them. Hey, Dom, we've hit about an hour because we can just chat for a long time. But we are going to do this more often. The one thing I forgot to do was you're on, because normally we have Corey Thursdays.
Right.
Since we've started it, I should just say, he's only made one Thursday. I think we did one Wednesday, and so he's got good excuses. He's moving house this week, but are the good excuses going to just continue? That's what I wonder, right? That's what I'm a little worried about. But you did fine. But I had this. If like the people were saying, "Where's Corey?" Right? I had something worked out for it. Right? Let's see if this works. Look at that.
Try and make his headline up with mine.
Corey, how many times have you got Ashley Eckstein's autograph?
Like 40 or 50. I asked her to dinner one time at Disneyland. I don't know. It feels like something Corey would say.
It actually is. Hey, Corey, move closer to the camera. No, you're not looking at the screen. I made his head go bigger.
Yeah, I can't match up my can't match up the scale properly. There we go.
Bump, 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 bump. So I thankfully we didn't need that. But back to you. Do you feel better? Do you feel more normal?
Much better. Much better.
Okay. Do you feel like buying a Funko Pop?
I have this sudden urge to get some Clone Wars era Funko Pops.
Do you have an urge to change your podcast name just slightly?
Yeah. I think Star Wars Underworld has run its course. I think it should be Star Wars Underworld Transmissions.
Star Wars Underworld Resistance, something.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Star Wars Underground, maybe.
Yes. Then it would fit in for all that stuff. So I am going to pick a day. I'm sort of launching a new sort of schedule, and I'm coming out. I'm rebirth or something.
Nice.
Like the moth that has come back out. Or,
I don't know. Am I a moth? Cocoon.
No, the moth comes out. I'm going to come out a butterfly.
You're a butterfly. Yeah.
I was a butterfly, and then I call back in, and then I come back out. So I'm going to do that at the start of the month. And one of the days we will dedicate just to getting our old mates on, just an excuse to catch up.
Absolutely.
We don't get to do it at some dingy bar at 1 a.m. this year, which is no good. But let the good people know of the internet. You've got your episode tonight, Star Wars Underworld.
Yeah, if you want more Star Wars, if you're listening to this live and you want more Star Wars talk, like immediately, in about 45 minutes, we're going to go live on mixler.com/channel-1138. That's mixlr.com. And we're going to talk about the week's Star Wars news, all this crazy stuff that's going on with the Cassian show, with Mando Mondays, whatever that's going to be, and all sorts of fun Star Wars news. So we're going to break it all down and have a good time. And if you can't listen live for whatever reason, StarWarsUnderworld.com or Spotify or Apple Podcasts is the place to find new episodes of the Star Wars Underworld and Radio Razor Crest eventually.
I was listening to that t-shirt. He just wants to get it off. Mm-hmm. If you missed it during the week, we've done a bunch of live streaming. We've got a full episode on the Black Mirror director replacing Tony Gilroy on Cassian, with Giancarlo talking Mando season 4.
Yes.
A good little clip about how the Pedro Pascal rumors just don't make sense and then continue to not make sense. And how about this one? This has been sitting on my computer for a while. This is Luke Skywalker in a video game needing to go to the bathroom. What's up with that? That came up in a Google search, and I'm like, that is the oddest picture. Nothing more frustrating when you ignite the green, but you got to go. It's very tough. Look at that. That's
kind of looks like Jabba the Hutt in the background behind him. And then on the right hand side, that plant kind of looks like toilet paper. So it really, I don't know what's going on in this picture.
There's a lot there for everyone. There is a lot there for everyone. So thanks everyone that joined us in the live chat all week. Thanks for crew that are watching on delay, our patrons listening to the patron exclusive audio. If you are on YouTube, please give a little thumbs up and subscribe. Tomorrow we will have the premiere of the patron Q&A for everyone to listen to. Patrons set the questions, but you guys get to watch on the YouTube. That's not live, but there'll be a live chat. That's at the normal time, which is on the ticker down the bottom. And then we'll be back on Monday for another bunch of live streams. Thanks so much, Dom. It's I've missed you, buddy. I feel like
I've missed you too.
When I think about it, it's like it's been so long since I've seen that Dom.
Way too long.
Way too long. Now, but I'll listen to you tomorrow on the podcast when it hits my phone, and I'll talk to everyone on Monday. Thanks so much, you guys, and may that force be with you.